All right, so joining us right now is the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're feeling better.
I think there was, a lot of conversations, a lot of healthy conversations, and I think it shows the relationships that have been formed over 4 years are incredibly meaningful, and I think where we ended up is exactly where we had hoped, and that's the most important thing, and here we go with him leading the way.
Yeah, love it, Sean. And, okay, so this is probably wishful thinking on my part, but I'll go ahead and ask you. It looked like Cooper Kupp had said goodbye. I know what you think of him. You're a huge fan of Kupp's. Is it possible, is there any chance that this could come back around and maybe you get him back too?
I think that's probably less likely right now. I would never say never, but he's been incredible. I mean, as much as he means to the fans and to us, he's been even more impactful to me as a human being, most importantly. His legacy is cemented as a Ram. We're moving forward with the intentions to try to be able to help him find a place that's right for he and his family. And if we can do that, we'll all be in good shape, but it's most likely not going to be with us.
Locked up Alaric Jackson at left tackle, bringing back Rob Havenstein at right tackle. Offensive line looks really, really strong. Talk about the importance of getting those guys back.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, everything starts up front. I mean, I think you look at the team that just won the Super Bowl and they control the line of scrimmage. I think when we were at our best this past year, that's what we were able to do on both the offensive and defensive lines. And that's always going to be a key and critical factor to winning and losing games, and the continuity and the health. I mean, you look at all the different moving parts. I think we were able to develop a bunch of depth that wouldn't have otherwise been illustrated if we didn't have all those injuries. So I think we will be stronger for it, even though there was a lot of challenging circumstances and adversity that we had to navigate through this past year, especially in the early parts of the season. And then defensive line-wise, you just saw those guys get better and better and continue to grow, and excited to see what that looks like next year.
You just mentioned where I want to go, Sean, defensive line. I could not be a bigger fan of Jared Verse. I think that he's got his whole future in front of him. I'm curious, though, as his coach, he looks like almost the perfect player to me, but he's still really young. How can he get better? Like when you coach him up, you and the defensive coaches, what do you want to see him do that he hasn't done? Or is he already there and he just needs reps?
Well, I think it's just, you take all those strengths that have been incredible and on display as rookie year, and you say, can we improve upon it? Can we have an ownership of the intent of what we're trying to get done? Can we be that much sharper with our fundamentals and techniques? Can we be that much more of a leader with how we model the way day in and day out? And so I'm a big believer, whether it's myself or anybody else, you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. And as special as this guy's rookie year was, he is an incredibly special human. He's a special player. And the way that he goes about it with his work ethic and the way that his teammates positively pour into him and his coaches, I think the best is yet to come without a doubt.
Your coaching tree, and then I think Les's general managering tree are really impressive now. Liam Cohen, Kevin O'Connell, Aubrey Pleasant, Zach Robinson, Nate Shieldhouse, Chris Shula, Jeremy Springer, James Gladstone, Tony Pastors, John Why do you think the Rams have why have you and the organization created so much talent that has since gone on to other places?
Well, I think you become the company you keep. I think we positively pour into each other. We just happen to be in head coach and general manager roles as it relates to Les, but those guys have impacted us as much as we'd like to think we've impacted them. I think there's a positive peer pressure to continuously push each other in this building where there's an urgency, but there's an enjoyment about growing. I think there's been opportunities where if we can't promote from within, then you've seen guys get opportunities that have been earned and deserved. And I was really fortunate to have those things happen to me at an early age. And it's because I had mentors that were willing to invest in me. And I think we've been able to do that with each other. And we just got a good building. It always is about people. People is people first, people always. People are the only thing. And as long as we don't forget that, I think you're going to continuously attract high caliber people, and you're going to get better because you're around people better than you.
Sean McVay, the head coach of the Rams, is our guest. Sean, have you ever met J.J. Redick, the Lakers coach?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
J.J.'s a stud.
Yeah, so this is what he's doing. He's completely turned this team around, and it was his first year. And Jeannie Buss did an interview last week where she said, I was nervous about hiring J.J. because he had never been a head coach before. And it made me think of you. Like when the Rams hired you, you were the youngest coach, I think, ever. And they put their trust in you, and you rewarded them with this great run you've been on. But did you know back in your first year that you were going to be good at this? Did you have that much confidence? Or do you just jump in and, like you say, lean on your mentors? What's that first year like?
That's a good question. I think you just dive in, and you're just so blessed for the opportunity. You never look at it as anything other than a blessing. It's never a burden. And I think I often have to remind myself, don't worry about the stuff that I didn't even know to worry about when I first got hired when I was 30 years old. But you talk about being around great people. I think the organization surrounded me with great people to help me navigate the early parts of a head coaching tenure. You have guys like John Fossil and Wade Phillips leading the defense and special teams, and we had great coaches that I was around. And then we had good players. There was good players in-house. I think we hit on our free agents and in the draft. And ultimately, when you're able to stack good decisions, a lot of good stuff can come. And we've been able to learn from our mistakes. And, I think there was a lot of confidence in what we could become because of the vibe in the building and ultimately the players' ability to bring it to life.
So every year they have the combine, and this is not something you didn't go to the combine. I don't think you have gone to the combine in the last couple of years. Why is that, and what do you think of the combine overall?
Yeah, I think the combine's a valuable tool, but we have such trust in our scouting staff that they've done so much work that's ahead of where our coaches are at this point that we've just felt like this time of the year is better served diving into the film. Obviously, it's a longer trip, too. I mean, you're talking about it's a full day of travel to get out to Indianapolis and back. But ultimately, it's about what's the most efficient and effective way to use our time to really dive into these players. And our players, and our scouting staff's done a great job. They've been at these guys for a year, couple years, and so they're able to get the important parts of what the combine entails for us while the coaches are able to stay back with Les and some of the other members of his group and really dive into the film, which is obviously the most important part of the evaluation process for us.
Sean, when you're looking at a player, like pretend that I'm a good college player and you're thinking about drafting me. How does that process work? Do you talk to me? Do you call my coaches? A little of both? Or when you zero in on a guy that you might want to draft, how do you go? Does that process entail?
Yeah, I think it depends on the relationship that you have with that particular coach. Where there's a lot of relationships, and there's certain ones that there's levels of trust that maybe don't exist because you don't know other people. So that's a case by case, but it's really trusting our group of scouts. They do such a great job of vetting these guys, understanding all the different people that maybe have had different touch points throughout the course of their life to really be able to say what kind of human being, most importantly, are they? Are they made of the right stuff? Are they going to be resilient when adversity hits inevitably? Is there really a mental toughness that you can try to gauge based on all the different factors that we put into that to try to measure some of these intangibles? And then ultimately, what does the tape tell you? How does that speak to you? And then what's the vision of the player? And so but there's a lot of trust for letting people do their jobs. I think that's the best part about our organization. Everybody has an ownership of their role and their responsibility. It's a collaborative process like all good organizations. But you trust people to do their job at a high level and trust the information that they're gathering, especially as it relates to Les and his group.
Sean, Travis Hunter's leaving Colorado, and he has indicated that he wants to play both sides of the ball this coming season as a rookie. How realistic is that to be able to play both sides of the ball for a season?
Well, this guy certainly is a unicorn. I can't believe the body of work. Unfortunately, we'll have no chance of seeing him because he's too good. But I do know this. You look at guys like Charles Woodson and even, Dion when he was in his prime and doing the different things that they've done. It's remarkable to play the amount of snaps that he can play. Nobody did the things he's done. If there's anybody that can change the game, he'd be a guy that you certainly wouldn't bet against where, runs away with the Heisman, has made a tremendous impact at a couple different schools throughout the course of his college career. And he's a stud. He's a fun guy to watch. But I wouldn't mind trying to figure out that problem if we had him. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Sean, last thing for you. Do you and Veronica call your son Jordan or JJ?
We call him Jordan. I thought we would call him JJ, but some people do, but it's Jordan, and then like anything else, my middle name is Patrick, so whenever I'd be in trouble, it'd be Sean Patrick. So we'll call him Jordan John when he's acting out of line. He's a little shit like his dad. I love him though. He's the best.
I was just gonna ask you how that's going. Is he walking and talking at this point?
Oh, yeah. He's walking and talking. There's no doubt. This kid is wired. He is definitely my son.
Yes.
Love it.
Awesome, man.
Love
awesome.
It. Well, give our best to your family, and thank you for doing this.
And glad Matthew's coming back. Glad everything's coming together. Super excited for this coming season. Coach, thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Hey, always enjoy with you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
There's Coach Sean McVay.